So, welcome to all of you. I'm very happy that you joined this event, which we call the launch of the Rehabilitation International Youth Forum. I feel very much excited that we have this meeting now. Some of you know that the planning and the idea already started around more than 1 year ago. But it took some time to arrange all these things and also to agree on the details. And you know that we have terms of reference. But I can tell you that in the executive committee of Rehabilitation International, when I made this suggestion, it was immediately clear that everyone wanted to have it. So the long time does not cause by a disagreement, but by technical things. And some of you know that I already had the idea to start this earlier this year, but then there were some, let me say, challenges within with our administration. So it's a little bit later. But I'm extremely happy that you are here. And this is hopefully a starting point of a big project. And I will show you the program, and thanks very much to you, Dr. Boya, to organize it in the background and to set up this program. And after the welcome, I would like to introduce you a little bit with some slides about Rehabilitation International. What kind of organization is it? What are our goals? But I will be short on this, and then will introduce the idea of the youth forum, give some reflections, also what are my expectations, give some aspects of our terms of reference, but of course not all these things, and then hand over to you to talk about your situation and also your expectations. And I'm very happy that we have 4 speakers from all around the world, let me say in brackets, except Europe, but I'm coming from Europe, so maybe this can be compensated. Even I'm not a young person, as you see. But we have Mioba from Zambia. We have Jakil from the United States of America. We have Mariam from the United Arab Emirates, and we have Sung Wong from Korea, Republic of Korea. So I'm very keen to listen to what you said, and then the main aspect today may be the discussion. And in the discussion, we have to, let me say, think what your aspects are and to align it with our aspects and what's not on the agenda, but on my, let me say, background agenda. I very much hope that we will have a foundation committee from today on, that you volunteer to be well acting by organizing the first steps of the meeting. Maybe later on there will be elections, but I think for the foundation, it should be those people who are joining today and who are committed to do so, because you know the word forum means a open space. And for me, it is very important that you use this space as your forum and also to decide in the end about the scope of your work. Of course, as a president, I have some expectations, and I will tell you all of these expectations, but the more important for me is the idea of a forum. So we did not call it a youth club or something like that, because a club is more or less a closed organization. A forum is a very open one. You know, in the Latin, well, ancient Latin times, it was a kind of marketplace, so everyone could go there, and in a democratic way, everyone could raise his or her voice to say something, but it's also a space of, let me say, protesting or having new ideas, and this is the spirit that I hope that will be here in the RI Youth Forum. So if you allow me now to start with my introduction to the Youth Forum, and I will share my screen. I hope this will work. Seems it works. Can you see my screen? Is everyone able to see it? It is the start with the General Assembly Room of the United States. No, no, not United States, United Nations. I'm very sorry, United Nations headquarters in New York City. I think everyone can see it. There is a little bit of noise in the background. So could you please mute your microphone as long as you are not speaking? Someone, but it's not too loud. So let's move forward. So after the agenda I showed you already, I will let you know what's the part of my speech here. Of course, I will introduce a little bit Rehabilitation International. I will talk about the idea of the Rehabilitation International Youth Forum. I will give some citations from the terms of reference and some will reflecting a little bit about the subjects of the forum and also my own expectations. So, Rehabilitation International, I only have 2 slides on that because we should not discuss too much about the past, but this is a very old organization. It has been founded already in 1922 as the International Society for Crippled Children. You know that this term is not appropriate anymore, but at that time it was like that. And since 1972, the organization is named Rehabilitation International. And some milestones of Rehabilitation International's work is that in earlier times, we already had a journal called International Rehabilitation Review. And what we just reactivated, we now also have a journal, or a new journal has been established within this year called the Journal of Rehabilitation. And what is the name, the exact name, and disability studies. Then another initiative, early initiative, and maybe it's good to reflect that we had this and still doing about sports. So in 1950, RI was supporting the Paralympic Games, and a milestone is the creation of the international symbol of access. And you see it here on the right, the so-called wheelchair logo has been invented and introduced by Rehabilitation International. And you can see it now everywhere. So you see that such an organization really can change something in the world. And even more important than the symbol is the Charter of the Third Millennium, which is on human rights and civil rights. And this was the starting point for the discussion of the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disability. And RI was very strongly involved in this. And as you all know, this is a real milestone towards inclusion of persons with disability in society. So we can wonder that it's a little bit late, only 2006, but it's there. And it is a fantastic document. And I discussed with many politicians also at high level. They really confirm that the adoption of the UN's RPD is a milestone also for politics at the national level. And I think it gives a framework for all of us as we are advocating for the rights of persons with disability. And then we had some funds during the last 6 or 7 years. And what's maybe very important, and this is an entrance point for you to join these activities, we are in consultative status with the UN Economic and Social Council. You know that the UN has a number of councils, Security Council and others, and one is the ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council. What does it mean if we have consultative status? That means that we can join the meetings, the public meetings. We also can make suggestions and give statements. So if there is a topic discussed, for instance, in the yearly meetings on the UNCRPD, the so-called COSP meetings, the consultation of state parties about the implementation of the UN Convention, we can give statements. We also can organize so-called side events, so short meetings about a specific topic. And maybe one of our future side events will be about aspects that are important for young people for disability. We are also in official relations with UNESCO. So in UNESCO, the terminology is a little bit different. Here it is not called consultative status, but it's almost the same. It's called official relations. So even there we can raise our voice. And this is also very important for what we are discussing here, because the UNESCO is responsible in the UN system for education. And you know that inclusive education is a very important point, and I would like to discuss with you more in detail, maybe not today, but later. What about if the school is ended? How about the transition to the university or to vocational training? Is this still inclusive or not? Or do we have to fight for more inclusive universities or other educational aspects? There is another third aspect related to WHO. WHO just launched a so-called Disability Health Equity Network. So this is a network looking for the access of persons with disability to health services, and not necessarily to health services related to the impairment, but to other, let's say, chronic diseases or infectious diseases and others, because there is a huge imbalance. I myself are part of the foundational committee of this initiative, but also here, and maybe it is important to listen also to your experience. So you see, we have a very wide range, and we also, of course, are involved in discussions about labor, social security, and others. Just there's an announcement about the next conference, which is very close to this date. In 3 weeks, in November 3 to 6, we have a regional conference in New Delhi in India, but you can find information on the website. Our main work is in the commissions. And of course, if you're becoming member of the RIU's forum, we also welcome you as member of the commissions if you want to contribute to a specific topic. So we have technology and accessibility. We have a commission on women and children with disabilities. Education Commission is very active. We have the Health and Functioning Commission, Work and Employment Commission, Policy and Services Commission, and we are now starting a new commission, which is about humanitarian emergencies. And you know that this is a very evolving, fast evolving problem in many areas of the work. We do not have only the natural disasters, but we also have other causes of humanitarian crisis. And last but not least, leisure, sports, and social activities. Here is the correct name, so I was wrong in my memory. It's the Journal of Rehabilitation and Disability Studies. That's the correct name. So I would like also to introduce you a little bit about our, let me say, philosophical thinking. Maybe we will have some debate on that, but for me it is very important to be clear about this. Why Rehabilitation International and not Inclusion International? Maybe we should say Rehabilitation and Inclusion International in the future, but we need two concepts that are in a way independent, but we need both of them, I think, in a very clear way, and to define what does it mean. So rehabilitation always starts from a person, from an individual. It's always individually tailored. And from my point of view, this is not medical, or it can be medical, but not necessarily medical, because the rehabilitation strategy is an empowerment strategy. It should help persons with disability or impairments to well, be enabled or supported by and well, joining all aspects of societal life. This is education. This is, of course, health. It is also justice. It is sports and leisure. It is social media. It is participation also in religious life or in political life. And the rehabilitation strategy, I say strategy, not rehabilitation intervention, the strategy to help persons with disability to fully participate. And the society, of course, on the other hand, must be inclusive. But the inclusive or inclusion strategy is not specific for one person. It's very generic. It's very broad. It should enable everyone to participate in social life without any limitation. But this is also a strategy, for instance, important for women, important for other people that may will feel or get some discrimination. So it's a very open thing, and we need both. And the strategy coming from society, it's called inclusion. So my very strong, let me say, definition is that we need two strategies. The one is a rehabilitation strategy, starting from the individual needs. The other one is the inclusion strategy as a strategy from society and a need for structuring society. And here in the orange tag, if you know, this is a bit more theoretical, that the human functioning model, the model of the International Classification of Functioning Disability and Health, is in the center here. So, what are our goals and what is important for us? That we have high quality rehabilitation services. They must be accessible and affordable for everyone in need. And the aim is to achieve optimal functioning in interaction with the environment. And as I said, it includes not only health, it also labor, leisure, sports, and many other sides. And the second principle is that societies must be inclusive in order to ensure full participation of all persons with disabilities in society, equal with others. And also here, this includes education, employment, and all these things. So there is a correspondence, and in the graph on the top of this slide, you see the red tag, which is human rights. We do not see this as a nice to have or a charity. No, it is a human rights, and it must be respected by anyone without any exception. So we have a very strong foundation of these two principles. And of course, we will discuss this, but I also experienced when I was asked for about giving comments to aspects. If I have these three aspects in mind, it is very easy to answer many questions. So last week I was on the in the ISA Congress, and I was asked to talk about the view of Rehabilitation International on persons with mental problems. And of course, it was very clear that persons with mental problems need an empowerment strategy, a, let me say, shift from a symptom-oriented care to a potential and activity-oriented care. And we also could say that, of course, society must be informed, overcome but now it's getting loud, some misconceptions, and to be more inclusive. So I think the model is quite useful for that. So what is our starting point? It is always the aspect of persons with disability or persons experiencing disability. In principle, and you know this better than I do, disability is an experience, lived experience caused by, on the one hand, an impairment, but on the other hand, the societal attitudes and all these barriers that are still in our environment. And that's why the main focus is to overcome disability, especially by removing barriers. So these are just a few examples I give here. I will not go into detail, but for instance, one very important thing is the products with universal design. Which really is a challenge, not only on physical products, but also on the products of social media, on digital communication, artificial intelligence and others. We have to think about what does it mean, universal design in these areas, and especially in these innovative areas. And it's also about accessibility, but also here, it's not only the buildings, it's not only transport systems, it's also here information technology and other services. And last but not least, maybe this is still the most important aspect, is about the societal attitudes. And in the case of the Youth Forum, it's the attitudes of young people towards disability and persons with disability. And what I'm a little bit concerned about is that there was, I think, a movement against discrimination, but now there are counter movements at the moment. So what makes these aspects really political, and I hope that our new forum will also address these aspects. Very short citation from our Constitution. It says to promote the rights of and inclusion of people with disabilities, and it is also mentioned here rehabilitation and the equalization of opportunities within society. And I shall ensure the participation of people with disabilities in the activities and governance of the organization. So it's very clear that our Constitution says that you should be included, and especially for me, it is important to have young people included here because you have your own ideas and also your own perspectives. So what is the idea of the Youth Forum? And I have to apologize here because this is an idea of an elderly person at this point, but you will modify these. But I think it is very clear that the life situation of persons with disabilities is dependent on age. But also other aspects, gender, income, cultural influences, the political situation, and the attitudes of society. And the dependency of age, of course, is, I mentioned this already, how is the inclusion of persons with disability in young communities? What is maybe a double discrimination if you are young and a person with disability? What does elderly people say to you, or something like that? And from my, well, let me say, outer observation, you as young people with disability have to face specific challenges. Just some examples. For instance, developing the identity. This is part of the young age, struggling with the attitudes of peer groups, experiencing discrimination, social media. I hope this is not strong, but we need to think about that. Finding a partner, getting access to education, professional training and job, and many, many other areas of life. And that's my expectation, or one of my expectations, that you more clearly define what this is, and then we hope that we can, let me say, incorporate these experience and also your ideas to overcome discrimination from your side. Policy making nowadays is mainly in the hands of persons with long experience in advocacy, so mostly the elder generation. I'm an example for that. And this, of course, has an inherent risk that specific perspectives, problems, visions, and wishes of young generation is neglected. And I want to change this for RI, but maybe we also can change this at the level of UN, because we are in consultative status. So if you have an important message, we can convey the message to the United Nations. And it could be a challenge of young people to raise their voice in international organizations, but we want to give you a platform to raise your voice. So now it stopped, sorry, problem. So, well, we defined in the terms of reference, but maybe I should not go too much into detail because time is running. But just a few sentences. Rehabilitation International Youth Forum aims to provide young people with disability a platform for communication, exchanging experience and opinions, developing visions, action plans, and helping elected representative better understanding of their perspectives. So we really want to have the platform. We want to organize a dialogue among young people, but also with our RI bodies, and to inform the members of RI and the public about relevant aspects of young people living with disabilities. We well went a little bit more into detail, but maybe this is not so important here. Of course, it is important to spread out information. Information is the basis, and evidence is the basis of policy makings, but also in some cases, to react to inquiries of RI president or EC members. EC is Executive Committee. Of course, we will have some questions. If we feel we do not really know details and how to proceed, we will ask you. That's important also for me, and also to prepare or to publish case studies about the real life situation, because it is important that these stories are published and that people learn what the situation is to reflect on this. And of course, the activities may change during the foundation process. We are quite open there. We defined so-called mandates. So this is our expectation, which well related to what I have said before, for instance, about the identification of specific issues of young people with disability, but also to help to find solutions, to find against discrimination, and of course, you have the access to our discussions and our advocacy, and we expect that you give us input from your side, and also to take part in some of our activities. So members of the Youth Forum are invited to take part in the commissions. Of course, there are a few limitations. If you start a public campaign, I think it is important that you inform myself or the executive committee, because we have to see this in a bigger consensus. And of course, another principle, it's voluntary work, as my work also is voluntary and not paid. But not to forget it, let's think about starting from today, if there is a message we want to convey during the next COST meeting in New York at the UN headquarters or nearby, let's say like that. So the terms of reference, this is a document we will share with you. I hope you already saw it. If not, you see here the link where you can find it, and there all these things are written more in detail. So let me come back to my own perspective as a person, as a president. I think most of it already has been said. I really want you to identify and describe specific life challenges, and also make suggestions for the solution. What kind of activity we should take to change things. And more specifically, I hope you will also help RI in general to work within social media. You know, this is a different in different generations. But for instance, I feel it's very important to analyze social media and even AI platforms on disability attitudes, because I think that it's possible, or maybe even likely, that there are, especially in the AI, the repetition of societal attitudes, and maybe we need to fight against this and find solutions how to influence also attitudes of AI, because AI is just thinking or gathering what's there in the internet. So it's a mirror of the internet and not a moral institution. So I think we need to discuss about that. Collaborate with commissions, I already mentioned this, and of course, networking and socializing. So I hope you will meet more often. Of course, most of the time will be virtual, but also maybe at our side events or our events, we can have sessions of the Youth Forum in the congresses or other workshops, or organize our own workshops. This needs to be discussed, and also there is one challenge for us to see if we can get funds for your travel costs. But this is still not solved, but I'm working on this. And of course, to spread out the idea. So you are also ambassadors of RI and the Youth Forum. I just wanted to, well, let you know, maybe some of you already know that there are in the, let me say, UN world, another of other activities. For instance, here, the International Conference Redefining Abilities Towards a Vision for Inclusive and Empowered Meeting. This is our daily conference. I already announced it, but also here, for instance, these documents from Youth 2030, the initiative here from United Nations Youth Office. There is a youth office, and we will have to have the contact, but maybe in many other well, UN agencies and collaborating partners, for instance, here, shaping the future through meaningful engagement of young persons with disabilities. There's a document, if you don't know, please study it, or meaningful engagement with young persons with disability, a guidance note of UN consultancy team. So there is another basis, and this could broaden your view and also my view. IDA, the International Disability Alliance, also has a initiative to integrate young people in their work, and UNESCO also. I mentioned UNESCO already, highlighting the crucial role of young youth with disability. There's also a part of the website. So we are not alone. So we are a network, and I hope that you, as the Youth Forum, will also build this network among organizations. So coming back to today's program, of course, we can take some questions and answers or some comments from your side. But the most important thing is then the four presentations already, as I said, by Miyoba, by Jakil, Miriam, and Su Wong. But if you want to have comments just now, of course, we also can listen and discuss a little bit at this point. And this is just well, my last slide. You see here, this is well, a photo with a large range. You see here, this is UN headquarters. Here in these buildings, all the meetings are here. And in this building here, we have a small office. So it is directly very close to UN, and in between here is UN Plaza. This is the park on the UN area. So this just should show where we are going very often from our side. So thank you very much for listening. And the question is, do you have any comments at this point, or shall we continue with your presentations?
I feel like we could definitely just proceed as is.
Okay, yeah. So
Yes.
let's proceed. And I think the next one, and maybe I ask Boya to organize the next part of the session. I think the next one is Miyoba, if I'm right.
Yes, the next one should be Mioba, and he asked me to manage his PowerPoint. Could you please show your face, Mioba?
Yes, I'm here, Doc.
Okay, okay. Yes, so I
Yeah,
can please wait. I will share the screen of your.
please.
Uh, just let me know if I need to move to the next slide, please.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so very much. First, I would want to say a huge thank you to the professor for that elaborate presentation on RI. Thank you so very much. And I'm also grateful to you, Dr. Boyer, for arranging this meeting and the rest of the RI team. Of course, today I'm joined by my team. One of them is Fatima, our volunteer. She's in charge of communications and of course, and also marketing, and also our accountant, Moffat, a youth with disability, and also a partner organization that is being led by a very vibrant Young Voices, a member that I recruited way back. Now he has got an organization, and his name is Ian, and is accompanied by their legal advisor. That's her, is it the council? Taongi, yes, Taongi, yes. Yeah. So the first on my slide there is just an introduction, of course, of the topic that I was requested to present on. As you can see there, it's reading Rehabilitation International launch of the RI Youth Forum. So through the RI president, Dr. Boyer requested me, of course, to talk on some experiences that is aligned, of course, to my activities in terms of course, we're talking about community, national, and international activities related to disability advocacy and inclusion. So the next slide, of course, there it's asking who is Mioba. Yeah, Mioba is a Zambian disability advocate and a wheelchair user since childhood due to contracting polio. I don't know how it was. Of course, I was taken for vaccination for polio, but unfortunately, at the age of 9, I was found that I was, of course, found with polio, and this led me to start using a wheelchair at the age of 15. Of course, I'm happy that this disability has never taken me down or made me limited my abilities. It has made me to do more in terms of advocating for fellow people's abilities because I understand what it takes for one to be somebody with a disability. So I am somebody that has been doing this work for over 16 years, and I'm now managing an organization called United Abilities. I'm the co-founder, and I'm happy to mention that RI, they have been very supportive of this organization. Of course, I'm a passionate advocate. I've successfully mentored youths with disabilities, secured funding, managed projects, and fostered partnerships with stakeholders. My educational background includes an MBA and management disability, and I'm also humbled to have received awards like Rehabilitation International Award and the Oshegan Ventures Grant for my contribution to disability welfare. Next slide. Yeah, so there in that slide or this slide that you're able to see, of course, here I'm talking about our community work. So what exactly do we do as United Abilities when it comes to community work, or what are my experiences as somebody with disability and as somebody with an experience in mentoring youth disabilities that have now prospered and have now come up with their own organizations. One, as a disability advocate, my community activities have focused on empowering rural communities. And of course, one will ask, why rural communities? You know, in Africa or in Zambia, we find that most of the organizations, they concentrate much in the urban areas. So you find that many of those people with abilities in rural areas, they're neglected. And you find that it's very difficult for them to access services. So as United Abilities, under my leadership, we have fostered more in rural areas, and particularly youths with knowledge on human rights and inclusive practices. Of course, through workshops, training sessions, and awareness campaigns, I have utilized tools like the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and the Persons with Disabilities Act number 6 of 2012 to educate communities on disability issues. Of course, we're focusing on the importance of accessibility and inclusivity in education, healthcare, and economic empowerment. And I know these areas, these focus areas, they align much with RI. And we're also looking into the need of equal opportunities and social services for persons with disabilities. And also the role of the role of assistive devices in enhancing independency and participation. As you can see on the right there on that photo, we went to this rural area in Chadiza, just here in Eastern Province in Zambia. We're donating a wheelchair, of course, in collaboration with the Zambia Agents for Persons with Abilities. You know, in the disability work, we're not supposed to work in isolation. We're supposed to work with other stakeholders. In that way, we'll be able to make a huge impact. Then apart from that, also, of course, I'm also going to talk about my experience. I've also shown that rural areas face significant challenges due to limited access to resources, infrastructure, and NGOs. This is why our organization has concentrated our efforts in these areas, working closely with local youth to, one, amplify their voices and concerns, two, build their capacity as disability advocates, and three, support their initiatives and projects promoting inclusivity and accessibility. Now, if you look at one there, why am I saying amplifying their voices? I think it's very important as we mentor these youths, let them be able to speak for themselves. All that we need to do is to mentor them. Let them carry on the larger patch of advocates, because one, these guys, they still have got the energy, and we can still tap into their talents. And not only that, they are leaders of today and not tomorrow. So our role should be able, our role is to mentor them so that they'll be able to become responsible leaders, and the leaders that will be able to carry on their works for many years to come. And they should also be able to pass on the mentorship to other youths that are coming in future. So by empowering rural youths and communities, I believe we can create a more inclusive and equitable society where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Next slide, please. Yeah, so on this next slide, on the photo there, you could see, or you can see a young, youthful, energetic man there with a lot of experience in advocacy. That's Ian Banda. He has got an organization, and of course, he's joined on this platform. Ian has done a lot in terms of advocating for the rights of youth with abilities in Zambia. And I'm happy that I'm one of those guys that mentored him the time when I worked for Chesham State of Zambia way back, and he has continued his work. And now we're coming up with quite some huge plans together, since next year we're having elections in Zambia, and want to come up with a program that will ensure that youth with abilities, they also take part in elections and also in governance. So now coming back to the slide reads the heading, National Impact, My Contributions to Disability Advocacy and the Inclusive Policy. As I said earlier on, I've got more than 16 years of experience in disability advocacy in Zambia. I'm honored to share my contributions to uplifting the living standards of people with abilities in Zambia. Here are some of the highlights. So one of them, it's inclusive education pioneer. In 2006-2017, you know, Elena Cheshire in Zambia, of course, Elena Cheshire International, and I know they are affiliated with the RI, they came up with an initiative of promoting inclusion in Zambia. And I'm happy that at that time, I was one of the first people in Zambia to implement or to supervise an inclusive education project. The whole idea was to ensure that children with abilities that got access to education, not only education, but quite education. And this education was supposed to take place in ordinary schools, or what we call mainstream schools. But for these children to be able to access these schools, we had to ensure that we make these schools accessible to children with abilities. One, by training teachers in inclusion. Not only that, by also making the schools accessible to with abilities, by breaking the barriers, by putting pathways, ramps, even building toilets that are accessible to children with disabilities. Not only that, over 100 schools replicated for accessibility. I'm happy that I was part of that. More than 1,000 learners with abilities enrolled in mainstream schools. Not only that, empowering young voices. That was in 2009. During my tenure as country director for Chesham State of Zambia, I established 4 young voices groups comprising youth with disabilities with EU and then Cheshire international support. These young voices, one, successfully lobbied the Zambia governance to ratify the UNCRPD. 2, advocated for inclusive education, decent jobs, and more. Of course, when I talk about successful lobby, the Zambian government to ratify the UNCRPD, of course, that time a number of governments in Africa, they are a bit hesitant to firstly to ratify, domesticate, and implement the UNCRPD. I think they're a bit hesitant. And I'm happy to share that these young voices groups that we established in Zambia, they did very well. And we even engaged the president by then, Rupia Banda, and our document, or the document, the answer PD that presented to him, it was ratified, and we're happy that not only that, a number of things started changing, but of course there's still a challenge in terms of implementation of this document. Then not only that, I was very instrumental in mentoring future leaders, and I'm proud to have mentored Ian Banda, now founder of now founder of Yans. Okay, oh, sorry, I think time, okay. So now I think I've explained there, so that slide is gone. Now, when you talk about international disability advocacy experiences, so that picture there that you are seeing, of course, is the time when I went to UAE last year in United Arab Emirates. Of course, I went for the RI conference, and I'm happy to mention that, you see, during this conference there, we really learned a lot. There was a lot of sharing. And not only that, when it comes to the national experience that I've, of course, gained, I can share that in 2009, the Young Voices for Disability Rights, as acting country director for Cheshire Homes, I joined a global movement for youth diabetes. My presentation in South Africa led to Zambia hosting Young Voices leaders from Africa in 2011. Then not only that, in 2014, Summit Conference in Thailand, I was selected to attend a conference focused on quality assurance framework and leadership development. These experiences enhanced my understanding of global disability issues. Apart from that, also, inclusive development training in South Africa. Then at Cheshire sponsored my training on empowering youths with disabilities in livelihoods. This knowledge has been invaluable in my work. Then in 2024, the Rehabilitation International Congress in Abu Dhabi, with sponsorship from, of course, ZHO and RI, I attended this enlightening conference. I'm grateful for the connection made and the support ZHO provided to organizations, including advanced hearing aids and wheelchairs for people with disabilities in Zambia. So I think when these young stars, they're exposed internationally, they make a huge impact. We're not saying that what can work in Germany or India or USA can work here, but at least when they get exposed, even their thinking becomes broad, and even their thinking, even just implementing projects, it becomes way, way much better compared when they're just confined or limited to their country. So I think through this project that the president is proposing, may we have more youths exposed to different programs worldwide so that they could be able to make a difference in their respective countries. Next slide. Yeah. So there, my heading there is expectation for the Rehabilitation International for youths. So what am I talking there? I'm saying empowering youth voices. One, I'm proposing that let's amplify youth voices respectively or perspectives. Share experiences, challenges, and solutions from young people with disabilities worldwide. Two, inclusive decision-making. Ensure youth participation in decision-making process affecting their lives. Then also talking about networking and collaboration, global connections, foster relationships among young disability advocates, organizations, and stakeholders. Just the way I said earlier on. When we do this, we'll be able to see an impact that will be made by these youngsters that we are trying to mentor under the leadership of the president, under this youth forum that the president is proposing. Not only that, we should also look at the capacity building and the skills development. For us to be able to achieve this, we should develop their leadership skills. Whereas we're going to enhance their skills, knowledge, confidence among young disability advocates. And not only that, advocacy training, equip participants with effective advocacy and strategies and tools. By doing that, we'll be able to make a huge impact worldwide, and whereas these young youths will be able to claim for their rights and not only claim for their rights, but also be able to educate others and also share knowledge with other youngsters that are behind in terms of disability rights. Next slide. So what are my expectations for the Rehabilitation International Forum? Firstly, I'm looking at advocacy and action. One, we need a united advocacy efforts. Let us mobilize collective action to push for inclusive policies and practices. What's happening is that, when policies are being made by our governments, they are made out of assumptions. People with abilities are not included. So people are making these policies out of assumptions. Now, how do you measure the impact, or what indicators do they use when they come to measure the impact that they have made when they come up with these policies? Apart from that, I'm also expecting youth leader initiatives. Let us support and showcase innovative projects and initiatives led by young people with disabilities worldwide, of course, with support and mentorship from RI. Apart from that, I'm also looking at leadership commitment. RI President's commitment, Professor Christopher's vision to amplify youth voices is translating into action-oriented leadership, empowering young people with abilities worldwide. And I commend this thing very well, and please let us give him the support that he deserves. So what are the outcomes that we are looking at? Of course, youth declaration, develop a collective statement outlining key demands and recommendations. Post-forum support, let us establish a network for ongoing support, mentorship, and collaboration. In this way, this won't just be something that is going to be like on paper or theory, but through this forum, let us translate words into action, Mr. President. This is a very good initiative. You have got our support, and I know we have got youth out there that will be able to carry this vision for many, many years to go, and this will be the footprint of RI. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Miyoba, for this very informative talk, but especially also for your extremely well-structured expectations. And I think this is a very good starting point for the discussion. And I very much also like your idea to have a youth declaration. And this could be very strong. And of course, if this is ready, RI will support that this will be well known at the UN level, but also in general public. So thanks again, Miyoba, a great talk. The next one is, if my notes are right, Jacqueline from the United States.
Hello, I'm here just trying to get the lighting. There's the background lighting. Okay, let's see if that'll do it. Sorry about that. It's becoming morning time over here, so the dawn is getting me. Is that better?
It's okay, yes, we can see you well.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start off. My name is Shaquille Abdullah, and I'm very honored to be here representing the United States as a youth leader and advocate for disability inclusion. My journey began not in a conference room or international meeting, but in my local community, where I first learned that advocacy is not just about raising your voice, but about lifting others with you. Growing up as a young person with invisible disabilities, I didn't always see people like me in leadership roles, yet that there was very absence became my motivation to be a part of the change that ensured no young person with a disability feels unseen, unheard, or underestimated. My path into advocacy started in my teen years. I'm 28 now, but this started about a decade ago. I realized that disability rights were deeply connected to very broad issues of equity, education, healthcare, employment, community inclusion. These weren't just abstract policy discussions. They were daily realities for people like me and those around me. Now, I started my engagement with the Department of Health. where I served for about half a decade. So most of my teen years, I served as an advisory member for Orleans Parish in New Orleans, in Louisiana, for citizens with developmental disabilities, where people could come to me for impact, and I would bring that up to channels for the state and then other political figures. This was my start to both political affairs, as I was a governor confirmed member, and healthcare. Over time, I became with organizations like Association for University Centers on Disabilities, where I actually served as a Lynn Scholar, Leadership, Education, and Neurodevelopment in Related Disabilities, where I focused on medical research and care for subjects within the healthcare community focused on disabilities, where I also received a Scholar Award for my work with the blind and low vision and my trainings given to medical students and nurses to better professionally aid their clients and patients. Now, these experiences, or so many more, taught me how to translate lived experience into policy action, how to speak the language of systems while keeping the focus on humanity. I also had the privilege of working with federal agencies like the US Department of State's Office of International Visitors, where America brings a plethora of community leaders nominated by embassies to America to learn a very diverse set of subjects and to take that home to their communities. Now, it showed me that disability inclusion doesn't stop at borders. It's a global conversation rooted in human rights and dignity. Now, in my local community, I've worked to connect the dots between disability, race, and health equity, whether addressing barriers to telehealth access after the COVID pandemic, or supporting young leaders through programs like the Urban Leaders Fellowship here, where I served as an urban leader of New Orleans, focused on education reform, or the Youth Leadership Forum in Louisiana, where I served as a disability leader, helping upcoming next-gen leaders focus on speech writing, general community engagement. And that program started again after an almost 20-year break. So I was one of the first people when it started again. So I focused on building bridges between communities that are often left out of the conversation. Nationally, I feel I've been very proud to contribute to dialogues on inclusive telehealth and healthcare, one of my two major subjects really, centering those on intersectionality of disability, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, and LGBTQ+, as a gay man myself. I believe our most powerful advocacy happens when we embrace intersectionality, not as a buzzword, but as a framework for real inclusion and cross-dialogue talks. Now, internationally, my experiences has opened my eye to shared challenges and hopes of youth across the world, whether through global disability organizations like USID, United States International Council on Disabilities, or even Save the Children, where recently I was at the Global Disability Summit as a speaker in international development. Through youth forums as well, I've learned that while our context differs from time to time, our core mission is the same: to ensure that people with disabilities everywhere have the opportunity to thrive, lead, and belong. Now, international relations has become more than just a field of study. It's been personally my bridge to understanding how change travels across cultures. I see diplomacy as a tool for accessibility, and then accessibility as a form of diplomacy. By engaging with global leaders, I aim to contribute to policies that bring disability inclusion to the forefront of international development and human rights agendas. Now, every exchange, every partnership, every shared story really strengthen the global movement towards unity and solidarity, the two things I feel are important. I've learned that when young people with disabilities take part in these spaces, we bring innovation, solutions that redefine what leadership could look like. Now, in closing, I'll say, as I join the RI Youth Forum, my hope is to three-pronged: learn, connect, and co-create with other members of the forum from around the world who share this mission that Christoph and RI has laid out. I expect this forum to be a place where we not only discuss inclusion, but model it, serving as ambassadors for RI on youth relations, where youth voices guide the conversation on the future of accessibility, like independent living and community engagement through technology, such as technological care, general knowledge, especially social media. And lastly, it would be rights, like furthering the dedication and involvement of the CRPD. So this isn't just a forum, but a spark that ignites lasting change for both us as members of the forum and RI. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shaquille, for this clear presentation and your speech. And I'm of course amazed on your experience in those many aspects. This is maybe more than most of us have. And you mentioned very clearly and very important that there are so many, let's say, areas, health, universities, and the community life that needs to be done. And I very much like what you just said in your last sentence, that members of the youth forums also are ambassadors of the goals and the policies of Rehabilitation International. So we want to get your input, but it's also about the output. Maybe one very important thing, and you mentioned it in a way, that maybe it is very important also to inform young people that they have rights, that to be included in society, inclusive is a human right. And I'm not sure if young people with disabilities are aware on that. And maybe this information could also strengthen young people with disabilities in many countries around the world. Thank you very much for adding this very important aspect.
Thank you for having me.
So the next one is Mariam from Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, Mariam asked me to share her PPT. I will manage her PPT.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So anyone can see the PPT?
Not yet. Yes, now it's there.
Okay. Just let me know if I need to move the slide, please.
I am Mariam Al-Kubaisi, a 29-year-old Emirati woman living with multiple sclerosis. I was diagnosed at 17, at a time where most people are stepping into adulthood, full of plans and excitement. For me, it meant learning to navigate a body that didn't always cooperate, and a world that wasn't built for people like me. MS didn't stop my dreams, it reshaped them. What started as a personal journey became a mission to live fully, advocate for myself and others whose struggles are often unseen or misunderstood. I travel, I explore, and document my experiences online, not to inspire for the sake of it, but to challenge stereotypes and redefine what's possible for people like me. A life with disability is not a life with limitation. It can be rich, empowered, and joyfully lived. As a person of determination, I've realized that the biggest obstacles aren't always physical, they are social. This insight drives my advocacy and commitment to building a more inclusive world. Earlier this year, I had the honor of speaking at the United Nations, sharing insights from my lived experience and my work in disability advocacy. I highlighted the importance of embedding accessibility, inclusion, and representation into sustainable development, emphasizing that true progress happens when a person of determination are equal partners in shaping policies and innovation. Accessibility is not just assistance, it's a principle of equity, and human rights, essential for communities that leave no one behind. I've also represented the disability community at the World Congress Rehabilitation. In 2024, I spoke about mental health awareness, shared my journey living with disability, showing that life with disability is not defined by pity but by possibility, power, and pride. These experiences allow me to inspire others and emphasize the strength of resilience and self advocacy. I contributed as an evaluator and led empathy workshops for the Universal Design for Inclusion program developed by the UAE National MS Society. The initiative challenged university students to create accessible solutions for mobility, cognitive, and communication challenges faced by people with disabilities. Like many people with disabilities, I rely on assistive technology daily, but true inclusion goes beyond tools. The future lies in integrating assistive devices with advanced technologies, ensuring innovation benefits everyone. True progress means designing with people with disabilities, not just for them. I also I also led empathy workshops at multiple universities, workplaces, helping participants connect with the experiences of people living with MS. By fostering understanding, the workshops encouraged compassion, effective support, and broader perspective on inclusion, inspiring participants to take positive action in their personal and professional lives. I actively collaborated with local support groups, healthcare institutions, community-based organizations to build meaningful connections with individuals living with MS, other disabilities through these participants. I work to provide support, raise awareness and resources, and promote inclusion, empowerment, and well-being, fostering a more compassionate, informed, and inclusive society. I participated in the MS Majlis endorsed by the Department of Health, engaging with healthcare professionals, community leaders, and individuals living with MS. The platform focuses on real-life challenges, sharing insights and exploring solutions to improve support awareness and inclusion that ensures that the voices of those affected are heard in the decision-making. I expect the RI Youth Forum to be a meaningful space where young people with disabilities can connect, be heard, and create real impact. I hope to engaging in open discussions that amplifies our voices, share our stories, and shape more inclusive policies that reflect our lived experiences. My expectation is to learn from others' perspectives, exchange ideas, and collaborate on practical solutions that make accessibility and inclusion part of everyday life. I also hope the forum will inspire us to turn our ideas into action, to not only raise awareness, but to build opportunities in education, employment, and advocacy. Most of all, I look forward to contributing my own experiences in advocacy and awareness work while growing alongside other young change makers who believe in the power of inclusion and hope. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam,
Thank you so much.
for sharing your your experience. I'm very impressed what kind of actions you already implemented and organized, and I feel this is a very important contribution to the Youth Forum that maybe people from other countries that have not this experience can learn from this one and see what's possible. Of course, I very much liked also, you mentioned one thing that also I think needs to be discussed in the Youth Forum, which is about the terminology. And during the World Congress in Abu Dhabi, we learned, let me say, the international community learned about the background of the term of people of determination. There is a huge reflection behind that. And of course, this also could be a kind of discussion. And I totally share with you that in the end, the most important thing is to move forward, to take action. But based on let me say, a very good exchange of knowledge, of opinions, and also strategy. So thank you very much, Miriam.
Thank you so
This
much.
is a very important contribution, I think, to the Youth Forum and the future of the Youth Forum. On my list, it's Seong Wong. Please help me to pronounce your name more correctly. And
Yes, his
the
name
floor is yours.
Yes, please, Chairman Seung-won Jung.
Yeah, that's right. Hello everyone. Before I start the presentation, I'd like to ask for your understanding. Due to some circumstances, I'll be interpreting only the first part of Seung-won's speech, and then I'll continue with the rest of the presentation. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, please.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Sungwon Jung, Chairman of Changdenet, YDRN, Youth Disability Rights Networks. 저는 한국에서 통합교육을 받은 시각장애인 당사자 청년입니다. 그리고 시각장애인으로서 통합교육을 받으며 고등학교까지 생활을 했고 대학교에 입학하였습니다. 우리나라에는 장애인 전형이 있고 그 장애인 전형으로 갈 수 있는 학과가 있으며 갈 수 없는 학과가 나뉘어져 있습니다. 즉, 장애 전형으로 갈 수 있는 학과가 한정적입니다. 대학에 입학하였을 때 대학교 2학년 코로나19 사태로 모든 학사가 비대면 전환되었습니다. 모든 학사의 비대면 전환으로 인해 시각장애인 당사자들은 정보 접근에 어려움을 겪었고 청각장애인 또한 이러한 줌 시스템에서 자막이 없어 어려움을 겪었습니다. 이 문제는 단순히 한 학교만의 장애 학생에 대한 배제의 문제가 아니라 모든 학교에서 우리나라 대한민국 장애인 고등교육 체계에서 장애인들을 배제한 정책적인 문제라고 생각이 되어 모든 학교의 장애인권 동아리, 장애인권 관련 단체들이 모여서 장단이라는 지금의 단체를 설립하게 되었습니다. 네, 그 다음부터는 이어서 진행해 주시면 될 것 같아요.
I am a person with a disability who received inclusive education in Korea. As a student with visual impairment, I went through integrated education up to high school and then entered university. In Korea, there is a special admission system for students with disabilities, but not all departments are accessible through this system. When I was in university, classes were switched to online due to COVID-19. However, this transition made it difficult for students with visual impairments to access to the information and class. The same was true for students with other types of disabilities as well. This issue was not limited to a single university. It became a widespread problem of exclusion for students with disabilities across all universities. As a result, disability rights organizations from various universities came together to establish YDRN. YDRN is a youth disability rights network. So from now on, I will do the presentation. Can you see the content?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
very clear.
YDRN is founded during COVID-19 pandemic to advocate for educational rights of disabled students. Our mission is to advance rights of students with disabilities through networking and governance structures. We evolved from university groups to a registered nonprofit organization in 2024. So we achieved policy changes, including individualized education plans for college students. Our core activities is following. First, we work with policy. Policy committee leads advocacy for agendas developed by disabled youth during elections. And we collaborate with external organizations and corporate partners to secure funding. And we produce and distribute the barrier-free maps to improve campus accessibility. And we hold annual human rights and disability awareness festival to raise public consciousness. And we try to do the dialogue nationwide youth disability policy roundtable project to foster the dialogue across Korea. And then we try to post regular publication of newsletters, videos, and content through social media. This is our growth journey. At 2020, we founded Disabled Students Protest for Educational Rights during pandemic online learning, and our organization started with fewer than 20 university affiliated units and expanded nationwide. And then we included individualized education plan for disabled college students in Special Education Act. And then we successfully institutionalized disabled students' participation in police decision making. And then in 2024, we are registered as non-profit organization and established partnerships with Mongolia and Japan. Our strategic plan is like this. We try to expand the network to increase self-help groups and autonomous student units across universities nationwide. And we try to integrate the policy to enhance campus capacity to transform student concerns into concrete policy agendas. And we build a pipeline of competent young leaders with disabilities through training, and we try to strengthen networks with disability organizations globally to broaden inclusiveness. And now we are planning to hold a workshop on the right to higher education for persons with disabilities, focusing on the CRPD. Our goal is to develop a Korean model and expand it across the Asia Pacific region. We'd love for you to join us in this initiative. Thank you for listening our presentation.
Thank you so much, both of you. Again, I'm very much impressed about the systematic approach. And just to echo from my side, I haven't introduced myself in detail, but I was a university professor. And so I also know about let me say, barriers that are in the universities. I was teaching in a medical university, and there were a lot of barriers. And one thing I think needs to be considered in this context. This is also the job description or job profile. Because I know from some of my students that some medical doctors told them, no, as a person in a wheelchair or using a wheelchair, you cannot become a medical doctor. The same is for persons with visual impairment and others. So this is one aspect of this, comes from my experience. I'm very happy that you talked about the Korean model. And for RI, it is very important to create an international model based on what you have developed. And this is one of my goals, and I'm challenging our Educational Commission. The Educational Commission already made a project for universal designs in kindergarten and schools. But this also needs to be applied for universities. In principle, it can be applied, but I think it needs much more details for that. So this really corresponds with a project of RI, and this will be a very important, let me say, contribution, because with your experience, you will be able to have very clear guidelines to that. And I would be happy if RI could learn from your guidelines. I know that there are some guidelines in the world. India has strong guidelines. I think a lot of work has been done in the US, but also in France, for instance, there are some important documents. So this is a very important contribution. And this is, let me say, an example how you can enrich RI's policy. And I fully support this. And please let me know what can be done in RI based on your knowledge and your concepts and your experience. So thanks to all the four of you. I really see so much potential and so much experience, but also a lot of professionalism in this forum. I'm very much impressed. But now we have time to discuss a little bit. If you have questions to the speakers or comments or ideas how we should proceed, because my goal is that in the end we will have a foundational committee that proceeds this initiative. Miyoba, you raised your hand.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor. Yeah. So the question that I have is, of course, this initiative, of course, it is now, of course, being driven. It's in the motion now. Now, the question that I have is, what strategies are you going to put in place as RI for the forum, whereas it will employ in terms of influence policy, advocacy, and support for young people with abilities worldwide? Or in short, what forum are you going to employ in short? How are you going to influence policy change, advocacy, and support for young people with abilities worldwide, of course, in terms of them, of course, enjoying their rights?
Well, my answer is maybe simple, but on the other hand, maybe also complicated, because you know that as RI, we advocate for the rights of persons with disability in terms of achieving the enough or the appropriate individual support, but also for inclusive societies, starting from the policies, but also with the attitudes and the day-to-day living, all aspects of day-to-day living. What is important for RI, and we really need that input, to learn about the specific aspects of the life of young people, of your life. Because sometimes we are not, let me say, well informed about that. But what you also said in your presentations, I think almost all of you said like that, it is about solutions, about let me say, appropriate solutions for these specific problems. And the areas are big. It's education, it's social media, it's many other things. And what my expectation is, I think I expressed this, you should communicate among yourselves to develop things. We, of course, want to share then with you and also support your solutions as we can integrate it into our advocacy. We can spread it out in our network. So RI has member organizations in more than 100 countries around the world. So it's a huge platform. I was many times asked what is my direct expectation, and I have maybe a special view on it because again, the name forum means an open space for discussion and developing of solutions. So I really think you are as qualified as other members of RI to do these things, and you are even more qualified than all other RI members to make sure or to figure out what the specific problems are. So I feel on the one hand, it is the communication among you to identify the special issues and to find solutions and then discuss with us. And on the one hand, well, I think these enrich our policies, our advocacy statements and other things, what we can do. But also, this is vice versa, use us as a platform to spread out your information worldwide. So it's a little bit of a duality, and I feel most important thing is, well, you create your work plan. Of course, we need a continuous dialogue, and I'm happy to have this dialogue with you and other EC members the same to reach a higher level. But this will develop. And I think this will be a dynamic process. Not all of it now has been, let me say, defined or considered. We have the terms of reference. Please read it. But of course, this also is open for discussion. If you think the terms of reference is not appropriate and not matching with your expectations, we need to discuss. We cannot just put it away because there is a decision of RI Executive Committee to have this, but we can discuss. So I hope that we can find a open spirit of communication and that you among you within the forum develop ideas, develop concepts, and help us to spread out also your message and to inform our eyes. And we say, well, this is not relevant, what you are saying, for instance. Please be open with us. I like very much to discuss, especially among generations.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. President. Of course, this is very clear. Sorry, just here, but maybe the last question is, so as RI, so how do we envision the forum structure and the membership, of course, composition?
Well, the membership of RI is a little bit tricky.
No, for this, just for this forum.
Yeah, well, for this forum.
Yes, so my question
of
is,
course,
how do you envision the forum structure and the membership composition of this young youth forum composition, of course, project?
Yeah. Well, of course, my vision is to have as many members from as many countries as possible because we need the countries. On the one hand, the situation, the cultural background is very different in different countries. So it is hard that one, let me say, person represents it, and we need to have this cultural sensitivity and the lived situations. It also will make the messages more strong if we have members in many countries. And on the one hand, I see those who are here are very professional already. But I think also those who are committed and not having all these experience also should be part of it. so that you have a let me say well a spectrum of people there, and I think this will be the responsibility also of the founding or youth forum, that the information needs to be spread out. I think you should use the social media, international social media, to find other members. In principle, of course, we want to have persons that are also members of national member organizations. But if you will come up with a suggestion that we need to enlarge it, because maybe in some countries there are no member organizations, or the member organizations doing things that are not relevant for young people, then we have to discuss about this to enlarge it, because I think it should be a very inclusive forum.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, we have to link it to our eye structure.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. So I think we start within our HR structure. But for instance, if you come with the suggestion, as I say, this is too strict related to organizations, because this includes young people in some countries. For instance, if the national organization is not taking care for young people, or they are not included there, then we have to rethink it. But this should be a process of discussion.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President. It's very clear. Yes. But of course, my only request is that, of course, the young people or youth abilities, let them be the one in the forefront. Of course, us could, of course, just be mentoring them so that they could be able to carry on the mentor. So, of course, our role, of course, to mentor them so that they become responsible and they do the right thing in line with the vision of RI.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Any other comments, points of discussion, suggestions?
Well, I was going to ask, is Jaquel, I could probably turn my camera on. I was going to say, do you know, so backing off his question, as far as the current membership, do you feel right now it would, of course, at the beginning you did say it would be the speakers right now, obviously. You know, what would be the next steps? You know, are we meeting quarterly?
Well, yeah, let me share my thoughts about this. Well, I would like to appoint the four of you as the foundational committee of the RI Youth Forum. Of course, this is the first step is an appointment, and we are in contact with another young people in Denmark. I think she also is committed to do. She could not participate today, but I met her in Aarhus a half year ago. So could be 5 people for the founding committee. The founding committee, of course, has the responsibility to carry out the founding process, which is looking for members. And if there are, for instance, a group of members, let me say 20 people or 25 or however, I don't know how many will be, then we should go for an election of a chair of the youth forum, or a group of chairs, let me say, it should not be one person, to have a democratic election. But before we have this group settled, I think elections do not make sense. So I think we should start, and please allow me, with an appointment from the president. And then this is not an unlimited appointment. This is just for, let me say, 1 year. And in the 1 year, I would like to ask you to establish the forum, to have members of the forum, and then we should go for elections for the leadership. This is my suggestion.
A very good suggestion.
And very challenging suggestion.
Okay, I have a question as well.
Yes, please.
Okay, so mine is, I just want to ride on the response that you gave to me when he asked you on how best the forum can help in terms of responding to some of the challenges that young people might be facing in their various setups. I heard you mention that the starting point should be maybe like we should start having those conversations amongst ourselves. Then once we come to a conclusion, then maybe we go ahead and present those solutions to yourselves. Then you can pick them up and see how best you can support those solutions. So my question is, are these discussions going to be inter-country kind of discussions, or we're going to localize them? Let's say it's Zambia, like maybe Zambia will sit down and scrutinize the status of young people with disabilities and then come up with solutions, maybe try to expand the already thought of solutions and then bring it up to you, or it should be like across, we should come up with something similar. Everyone else should come up with something similar before those things can be supported.
Well, well, it's a very good question. And I thought a lot about this. And my concept for this is the case for all RI. I call it the International Policy Circle. And as you mentioned, the starting point of international policies should be the problem we have in a country, in a community, in a region. So there are, well, obviously some problems, some issues, however we will call it. The second step is then to analyze the problem and to, let me say, go to the essence of the problem and describe the essence very clear or as clear as possible in a policy paper or policy concept or whatever it will be. So we have to start from the real life situation and then come to the systematic policies. The next step is, and this can be facilitated by RI, is to bring this in the, let me say, international decision-making community. Could be UN, could be other aspects, to make this or the results of this a standard, an international standard. But if we have these declarations alone, it will not change anything. So we need, on the other side, the implementation part. And this will need to reflect how a principle from the principle of inclusion can be implemented into real life situations. For instance, we talked about the university, so we see the situation that persons with disabilities are excluded from the training. We need to make a clear guideline. Hopefully, we can have an international standard. Could be non-governmental. This is also an option, but then how to implement such a standard to change the situation, not only in the situation where we had the origin, but this can be shared then with all other universities. So the implementation must be in the country, but the implementation principles are important for other countries and other situations as well. And so I think starting point is a real life situation, conceptualization, taking a consensus, and then the implementation. And I think this is the model also for the Youth Forum in the end. And there will be, of course, many steps. For instance, after conceptualization, to have a consensus, I can really support what you are doing there. And for the implementation, maybe too, because then we can motivate RI member organizations or give standards or something like that. So I think if we do this together and if you share this kind of circle, then I think we can be very successful. What we need to establish is a kind of regular communication. So I will not tell you what you have to do, but I think we should have a dialogue about this, that this is really integrated into RI. So of course, RI Youth Forum will have a certain autonomy, but it should be part of RI. We call it RI family or RI network. And that's why my wish is to have a, let me say, regular communication about what you do, not telling you what you have to do, but align it and discuss it with the RI structure.
Thank you for the guidance. It's very clear now.
Well, so my question now is, we have maximum another 15 minutes, but we are already in a long session. So I know from physiology that after 1.5 hours, concentration goes down. This is a physiological process. So my question is, I would like to invite the 4 speakers and the Danish colleague will take the responsibility as a founding commission and also commit to spread out the information and integrate others. So there are many other people here. Please will share your contact. And then the next step should be, please organize, not too late, another video conference to discuss what the direction will be. And please establish a way also to connect with the president or the executive committee, that we will have a transparent and, let me say, collaborative way of work. Do you agree with this suggestion, or do you have any other ideas? Did I miss any important aspects?
Yeah, if I may talk,
Please.
I can share the email address of the participants of today to these 4 speakers, and then they can organize things among themselves, I think.
It's silent now. Is silence agreement? I hope so.
I think it's a good idea. And at least I know we're dealing with a lot of different time zones. So, give us each other's contact information, and then we kind of balance out, when we can all meet again. That's perfect.
Well, the time zone issue is all over our island around this time, but maybe a little bit earlier. We discuss, for instance, with US, it's working well, and Asia is also working well. But with the western part of US, it gets a bit tricky because to get up too early. But on the other hand, Eastern Asia, it should not be too late. But you will find compromise about that. We also do it, and I recently was in Asia, and I had to attend one meeting at 10 o'clock at night. This was hard, but it worked.
Yeah. Excuse, Professor.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for now, I would request that Dr. Boya could connect the communication from RI. Of course, I know that the 5 of us, of course, are going to be instrumental, but I would request that Dr. Boya could connect the communication for now. He has all our communications. And just to emphasize on what Vast said, is something that is very important. And I hope also even other colleagues that are on this platform have also gotten something from it.
Yes.
So my request is that let Dr. Boya connect the communication for now. I think in that way it will be more easier and well coordinated.
Yeah,
We could throw all our
yes,
ideas
Boya.
through
Yeah,
Dr. Boya.
I
Yes,
think,
Dr. Boya, yes.
I would be
Yes.
very happy, Boya, if you could continue. You have the experience, you have the skills, and you're also, let me say, pretty young.
At least in my soul. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I
Yes,
can try
yes.
to
I think
connect
for
at
the
least sharing the email
initial
addresses.
phase, it will be very important. But of course, after some year, maybe the structure will change. But if you could support the initial phase, and also will send out reminders, because all of us are busy people, as I heard also from you, you're also busy people. Sometimes we need to have a kick, but I also see that you're very much motivated. So, but for coordination, Boya, this would be really great and really helpful if you could do that.
Yes. Yes, but please do not expect also for me within few hours to respond to all your questions, yeah?
Yes. That's for sure.
Okay, okay, good. Okay. I think before ending this meeting, I would like to have that we turn on our videos to make photos. Do you
Yeah.
agree?
Yes, this is a question. Maybe we can even start now to establish a slot on our website for the youth forum. And if you agree, put the presentations already there. But
Yes,
of course,
I can
every
share it
single
later.
person has to agree on his or
Yes.
her own presentation. But to
Yeah.
have a corner in our website, a very important point. And if you have ideas how this should look like, let us know. And Boya is the responsible person for the website. So you are in contact with the right person.
I responsible for the content, not for the what is it called?
For the
How
design,
it look
right?
like to
Yes.
be honest, yeah. The
I
design, not
know,
the
I know.
design. Yeah.
Yes, I know. We have the discussion about the website if we need a new frame or not. Boya and I discussed a lot about this. Maybe at this point we need to use it as it is, but in future I feel we need a new concept. But one after the other.
Yes. So may I ask to all of you to turn on the camera so we can have a photo session.